Imagine the power and fragility of the market in a single hour. A small stock lights up traders' screens, capital floods in, and media reports elaborate on a discovery that could change the global wealth map. This is exactly what happened with Bre-X Minerals Ltd. In the mid-1990s. What began as a small exploration project quickly became a financial legend, only to collapse into a catastrophe that shook the market and exposed the fragility of trust in the world of precious metals. The humble beginning. Bre-X was not a giant corporation, but a small venture founded by Canadian businessmen seeking opportunities in gold mining. In 1993, they acquired a minor license to explore a remote area called Busang in Indonesia, a secluded jungle far from the eyes of investors. They hoped for modest wealth, perhaps a deal that could secure the company's future. The first spark, golden samples and wild expectations. Everything changed when Bre-X's team announced astonishing results. Samples containing enormous quantities of gold. Initial tests showed unexpectedly high gold content. News spread rapidly. The Busang site might contain the largest gold deposit of the modern era. The company's stock skyrocketed as investors went into a frenzy. Media outlets celebrated the discovery, and analysts spoke of potential billions. Rapid rise, from a marginal company to legendary valuation. Within a few months, Bre-X had risen from a modest venture to a multi-billion-dollar entity. People who had never heard of the company found themselves facing unmissable investment opportunities. Stock prices surged, funding deals were made, and acquisition rumors swirled. Banks and major investors scrutinized Busang greedily. The world seemed to witness the deal of a lifetime. The first doubts, quiet voices in the market. However, not all voices were optimistic. Some analysts and geologists questioned the sampling methods, the transparency of reports, and the credibility of the numbers. In mining, grand promises require independent verification. Amid the growing hype, some demanded independent analysis, but market euphoria shielded investors. Few wanted to hear news that could slow down the profit train. Global reactions, potential partners, and international interest. As excitement grew, major players entered the scene. Giant mining companies showed interest in the project, and some began negotiating partnerships and acquisitions. Reality lagged behind expectations, leading people to wager that Bre-X had something still undiscovered. With potential alliances forming, the projected billions seemed more plausible than ever before. Competition and urgency, the race to prove the truth. With the company's growth, the race was on. Bre-X aimed to prove its resources quickly to boost deal value. Investors demanded verified reports, and major companies sought to secure their stakes before it was too late. In this charged environment, rapid decisions were made and bold forecasts announced. Shadows on ambition, stories within the company. Inside Bre-X, carefully calculated numbers and ambitions drove decisions. Some employees noticed unusual patterns in drill reports, but a culture of silence prevailed. Everyone chased success. Here, tension emerged. Short-term interests drove long-term decisions, and temptation magnified the ability to overlook details. By the end of this scene, we see a small company constructing a golden mirage around a remote project. The market believed it, the media amplified it, and investors invested. But like all mirages, illusions rely on something fragile. One deep question remained. Was the gold really there, or was the story more complex than it seemed? Independent analysis shakes the market. By March 1997, doubts began creeping into the industry. Freeport-McMoRan, negotiating a potential partnership with Bre-X, conducted independent tests on the gold samples. The results were shocking. The gold levels reported by Bre-X were false. This leak caused a huge stir. Investors betting on rising stock prices grew uneasy, fearing that the wealth they built on paper could dissolve into thin air. The news spread quickly, leaving everyone in the metals market on edge, trying to make sense of what initially seemed like an incredible discovery, but was now appearing to be a potential hoax.
Death of the chief geologist. Mystery adds tension. In March 1997, before the full scandal was revealed, Michael de Guzman, the company's chief geologist, died under mysterious circumstances. His body was found in the Indonesian jungle, raising many questions. Was it suicide, an accident, or was he eliminated to prevent the truth from emerging? This event heightened media attention and immersed the story in a swirl of ambiguity and rumors as people linked his death directly to the financial scandal. Financial collapse. The illusory gold shatters. Once the sample tampering was exposed, Bre-X stock collapsed rapidly and dramatically. Investors who had seen their shares rise to see $286.50 per share just a year earlier watched their fortunes vanish before their eyes. Within hours, the company's market wealth evaporated, turning a legend into a historic scandal. The collapse affected not just individual investors, but also major financial institutions that had bet on the company as Asia's gold future. Those trying to recover soon realized that the truth revealed less than it concealed, and losses were far greater than expected. Investigations reveal the fraud. Following the collapse, financial authorities and international investigations took over. Advanced analyses showed that the samples had been deliberately contaminated with gold, and the reported results were a meticulously executed deception. Investigators found that the manipulation was not the work of a single person, but a small network within Bre-X that orchestrated the hoax with precision. From the mysterious death of the geologist to a chain of internal decisions, everything was intertwined, making the truth very difficult to uncover. Media coverage. The story becomes a legend. The media played a huge role in magnifying the story. Newspapers and TV networks closely followed every development. The tale evolved from a financial scandal into a real-life drama filled with mystery, death, and lost fortunes. Global media covered it like a thriller: massive discovery, mysterious death, fraud, and sudden collapse. People referred to Bre-X as an example of excessive ambition, greed, and the dangers of blind trust in preliminary reports. The story transcended mere financial numbers to become a social and cultural lesson about human nature and the hidden risks behind seemingly great opportunities. Lessons learned. Industry changes. After the scandal, the mining industry changed drastically. New standards were established to verify metal content, and companies began relying on strict independent checks before announcing any discovery. Investors became more cautious, and regulators implemented stricter laws to prevent manipulation of contracts and technical reports. Bre-X was not just a financial lesson, but a study of greed, deception, and the importance of transparency. It demonstrated how easily a mirage can be built and how market and media prestige can convince everyone of imaginary wealth. The legacy of Bre-X, a story beyond time. Even today, Bre-X is considered the biggest mining scandal in modern history. Books, films, and documentaries focused on the details, clever planning, hubris in announcing discoveries, the mystery surrounding deaths, and financial collapse. The story is taught in finance and academic institutions as a warning against blind trust and unchecked greed. The end. Illusory gold and the lasting lesson. Ultimately, Bre-X never delivered real wealth to investors, but it left a lasting legacy of lessons. The fragility of markets, the importance of independent verification, and the destructive power of greed. It serves as a constant reminder that real gold is not only in the earth, but also in honesty and transparency, and that any great illusion can turn into a disaster if believed without scrutiny.